to order our 2 p.m. session of today's Portland City Council meeting. Thank you all for joining us. Keelan, could you please call the roll?
Avalos.
Present.
Dunphy.
Here.
Smith. Canal.
Present.
Ryan. Koyama Lane.
Here.
Mario.
Here.
Novick. Clark. Green. Zimmerman.
Here.
Portal Guinea.
Here. Thank you. And I think we now have the city attorney reading the rules of decorum for us.
Thank you. Welcome to the Portland City Council. To testify before council in person or virtually, you must sign up in advance on the council agenda at www.portland.gov/council/agenda. Information on engaging with council can be found on the council clerk's webpage. Individuals may testify for 3 minutes unless the presiding officer states otherwise. Your microphone will be muted when your time is over. The presiding officer preserves order. Disruptive conduct, such as shouting, refusing to conclude your testimony when your time is up, or interrupting others' testimony or council deliberations will not be allowed. If you cause a disruption, a warning will be given. Further disruption will result in ejection from the meeting. Anyone who fails to leave once ejected is subject to arrest for trespass. Additionally, council may take a short recess and reconvene virtually. Your testimony should address the matter being considered. When testifying, state your name for the record. Your address is not necessary. If you are a lobbyist, identify the organization you represent, and virtual testifiers should unmute themselves when the council clerk calls your name. Thank you.
Thank you. And councilors, this is our first land use meeting that we get to have. Clerk, could you please read the item for us?
Consider proposal of type 4 demolition review approval for 118 Southwest Porter Street and Portland permitting and development staff recommendation for approval for a contributing building in the South Portland Historic District LU 24-077225DM.
Thank you. Before we begin, the city attorney will make some announcements about today's land use hearing.
Thank you. As a city attorney today, I'm going to make some procedural announcements at the beginning of this hearing. These announcements are required by state law and describe the way the hearing will be conducted, including, and then the type of hearing, the order of testimony, and the scope of testimony. Please bear with me because there is a lot of procedural requirements that are required by state law and that I will read into the record. This is an evidentiary hearing. That means parties may submit new evidence to council in support of their arguments. For a council consideration of a type 4 demolition review, the testimony will be heard as follows. We will begin with a staff report by PP&D staff for approximately 10 minutes. Following the staff report, the city council will hear from interested persons in the following order. The applicant will go first and will have 10 minutes to address the council. After the applicant, the council will hear from individuals or organizations who support the applicant's proposal. Each person will have 3 minutes to speak. Next, the council will hear from a representative of the Landmarks Commission, and they will have 5 minutes to speak. Following the commission, the council will hear from persons or organizations who oppose the applicant's proposal. Again, each person will have 3 minutes. If there was testimony in opposition to the applicant's proposal, the applicant will have an additional 5 minutes to rebut the testimony given in opposition to the proposal. The council may then close the hearing and deliberate. Council may take a vote today. If a tentative vote, council will set a future date for the adoption of findings and a final vote. The scope of testimony for evidentiary hearings is as follows. I'm going to announce several guidelines for those who will be addressing the city council today. First, submitting evidence into the record. Any letters or documents you wish to become part of the record should be given to the council clerk after you testify. Similarly, the original or a copy of any slides, photographs, drawings, maps, videos, or other items you show to the council during your testimony, including PowerPoint presentations, should be given to the council clerk to make sure they become part of the record. Testimony must be addressed to the approval criteria. Any testimony or arguments you present must be directed toward the applicable approval criteria for this land use review or other criteria in the city's comprehensive plan or zoning code that you believe apply to the decision. PP&D staff will identify the applicable approval criteria as part of their staff report to council. Issues must be raised with specificity. You must raise an issue clearly enough to give council and the parties an opportunity to respond to the issue. If you do not, you will be precluded from appealing that issue to the Land Use Board of Appeals. Finally, an applicant must identify constitutional challenges to conditions of approval. If the applicant fails to raise constitutional or other issues relating to the proposed conditions of approval with enough specificity to allow the council to respond, the applicant will be precluded from bringing in action for damages in circuit court. Thank you. I'll now turn back to the council president to address conflicts of interest and ex parte contacts.
Thank you. Do any members of council wish to declare a conflict of interest over this hearing, this property?
Is that different than ex parte?
That will come
Yes,
next.
it is.
Okay.
Yes, it is. Okay, no counselors have conflicts of interest to declare. Do any counselors have ex parte contacts to declare or information gathered outside of this hearing to disclose? Counselor Zimmerman.
Thank you. Before I was a counselor, in November of 2024, I met with Mr. Hickox and with Chris Schwab, who is a board member of the applicant. Chris Schwab is my first cousin and a person obviously I grew up with. The meeting, the nature of the meeting on the 27th of November was one part around what the organization intended to do. The other part was around, and more focused, was around if the change in council and the change in government, going from when all the work had occurred to us now hearing it in our first month, if that would be a large problem for this. And that was the extent of our meeting. No other further contact occurred.
Are there any additional questions for the counselor about the ex parte contact? Counselor Green?
I'm not sure this counts, but I did receive a call from Stanley Penkin on Tuesday lobbying me to sort of consider the case under review, and I think Stanley has an interest in the group. So I'm just disclosing that.
Counselor Dunphy?
Stan called me as well.
Counselor Ryan?
I got that same phone call.
Well, I don't think it was ex parte. Stan is also then on my record if we're going to do that. Yes.
Are there any questions about any ex parte contacts that council members have had? Are there any other disclosures of ex parte contacts that counselors wish to make? Okay. Have any counselors made any visits to the site involved in this matter? Okay. We are now moving into the hearing portion of our meeting. I will call for testimony first, our staff report, the information from our applicant, supporters of the applicant, the Historic Landmarks Commission, opponents of the applicant, time for a rebuttal as needed, and then council will have discussion. So I'd like to call up our staff from PP&D to give your report.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Tanya Palya. I'm a city planner with the Portland Permitting and Development. Today's hearing is for a Type 4 demolition review for a building located at 118 Southwest Porter Street, and I'm really pleased to be able to present this recommendation of approval to you. The current proposal is to demolish a contributing structure in the South Portland Historic District. Properties in historic districts are classified as either contributing or non-contributing, with contributing resources being those that have significant historic significance to the district. The total demolition of a contributing structure in a historic district is subject to demolition review, and it's processed through a Type 4 land use review procedure. The City of Portland has 5 types of land use procedures, some of which are approved or denied as administrative decisions made by PP&D. For the Type 4 demolition process, City Council is the review body that makes the decision, and the Historic Landmarks Commission serves as an advisory body. So the proposed addition requires a separate Type 3 historic resource review, where the Historic Landmarks Commission will be the review body. Demolition review was created as a process to give the public an opportunity to comment on proposed demolitions of historic resources and allow opportunities for alternatives to demolition to be fully explored. Demolition review focuses on the importance of preservation, rehabilitation, or reuse of the resource above and before other development alternatives are considered. And the purpose statement for demolition review emphasizes the historic resources that they are irreplaceable assets significant to the region's architectural, cultural, and historic identity. And the history of Type 4 demolition review includes a resolution in 2002, an ordinance in 2004, and a zoning code amendment in 2022. These efforts expanded, strengthened, and refined the city's demolition review regulations to protect more historic resources. Only 6 Type 4 demolition reviews have happened in the 20-plus years that this process has been in place. This will be the 7th. 2 of these would actually no longer fall under this process at this time. The process for demolition review involves a number of steps, and this project has completed already a pre-application conference, a voluntary design advice request with the Historic Landmarks Commission, and a public advisory meeting where the Landmarks Commission discussed the project in their capacity as an advisory body to the City Council. Based on that meeting, the Landmarks Commission wrote a letter to City Council in support of the project. And the chair of the Historic Landmarks Commission, Andrew Smith, is here and will testify on the commission's support for the project later in this procedure. Just a quick intro on the site. The site is located, as noted, in South Portland Historic District, which is in City Council District 4. The site's zoning is the commercial mixed-use 2 zone, which allows up to 45 feet of height to be built and 2.5 to 1 floor area ratio to be built. So the current bungalow is below those thresholds by a lot. The house that is to be demolished is a bungalow-style house built in 1908. Its historic name is the Carl and Minnie Schmidt House, which was named for its original occupants. For the past 40 years, the property has been used as office space. According to the National Register of Historic Places nomination, the building is considered to be contributing within the district as a good example of a bungalow-style residence and is therefore significant as part of the larger grouping of residential development that occurred in the South Portland area. It shares its site with a larger brick building constructed in 1978, which sits to its east, and to its west is the Cedarwood Waldorf School. And some info about the district itself. The South Portland Historic District is a subset of a larger South Portland neighborhood, which developed as a multi-ethnic, walkable, and primarily residential suburb in the late 19th century. The district represents South Portland during the district's period of significance, which stretched from 1876, the year that the neighborhood's oldest buildings were built, to 1926, the year that the Ross Island Bridge construction resulted in a wave of displacement of area residents and businesses. The area that eventually became this historic district was tremendously impacted by urban renewal. Large portions of the neighborhood were decimated, and the residents fought to get this district listed and preserve what was left. As the surviving piece of a district that was greatly diminished by the construction of the I-5 and I-405 freeways and by a large-scale clearance under the urban renewal programs during the 1960s and 70s, the South Portland Historic District is significant as the remnant of an early, originally much larger working class and immigrant neighborhood. The area was originally home to concentrations of ethnic and religious minorities from Southern and Eastern Europe. The district thus stands as an excellent example of a vibrant minority gateway community that flourished from the late 19th and early 20th century. So the next four slides are just to show some contextual views of the site, just to get oriented to it. In this one, we're just looking straight at the bungalow to be demolished with the Waldorf School to the right and the non-contributing 1978 building that will be expanded upon to the left. This one shows the same 2 buildings, just at a slightly different angle. You can see the driveway and the parking in between. And this one's just showing the 1978 building to be expanded from the corner, and here is a front view of that same building that would be expanded by this, the second part of this project after the demolition. Okay, so this one is talking about the approval criteria for this demolition. So the demolition review approval criteria focus on the importance of preservation, rehabilitation, or reuse of the resource before, as we've noted before other options are considered. The demolition review approval criteria evaluate the demolition against the goals and policies of the comprehensive plan and any other relevant area plans. And the evaluation must also consider the other 6 factors, which are listed below as A through F. The 3 relevant plans to be evaluated against are the 2035 Comprehensive Plan, the Southwest Community Plan, and the Corbett-Terwilliger-Lair Hill Policy Plan. Previous Type 4 demolition reviews have established the precedent of taking an on-balance approach to competing or conflicting goals. They have looked at the comprehensive plan and area plans, policies and goals comprehensively to determine which outcome offers the greatest public benefit. Conflicting objectives across the plans are inevitable when evaluating a proposal. If a proposal is consistent with certain objectives but inconsistent with others, City Council determines the weight to be given to each objective and evaluates whether on balance the proposal is consistent overall with the city's goals. The council has broad discretion in establishing how to balance the relevant goals. So no code provision or city policy requires the city council to give equal weight to the balancing process for each policy, plan, or goal, and it doesn't mandate that equal weight be given to every goal. The council has the authority to give certain relevant goals and policies more weight and other relevant goals and policies less weight in reaching its final decision, and it comes down to what on balance supports the public good. So this is just a quick look at, there are a number of plans of basically goals and policies across these three plans, and there are a number of them that are not applicable to this project. So this is a list of ones that are not applicable, just to show you that those exist. When it comes down to which ones are applicable, there's about 13, and of those, staff believes 12 have been met, and 1 has not been met. Staff has reviewed the approval criteria A through F, noted before, against the relevant plans, and in this case advises that council give more weight to the city's goals related to human health, equity, focused growth, and resilience over those related to historic preservation. Under the unique circumstances of this project, the public benefit clearly outweighs the value of preserving the specific historic resource in question, and therefore shifts the balance of the approval criteria. On balance, staff believes the approval criteria for the Type 4 demolition review were met. The staff report and recommendation to the City Council is to approve the proposed demolition. The Historic Landmarks Commission unanimously supported the proposal at a public advisory meeting. The nonprofit applicant organization You Can Do serves families impacted by childhood and adolescent cancer. The proposed development would enable You Can Do to expand their services to better meet the needs of communities impacted by child and adolescent cancer in direct proximity to the bulk of Portland's cancer care facilities. While the bungalow in question is listed as a contributing structure, not all resources contribute the same quality or magnitude of significance to a district. In this case, the bungalow does not have unique historic significance beyond its contribution to the fabric of the district. It's not architecturally rare or outstanding, and its previous occupants were not associated with a significant person or underserved communities. The integrity and continuity of the district as a whole will not be significantly diminished by the demolition of this one resource. Staff and the Historic Landmarks Commission are satisfied that alternative ways to incorporate the applicant's program on the site without demolition were thoroughly investigated before pursuing demolition. The applicant sufficiently demonstrated that demolition of the contributing resource and the new building addition are required to meet the unique programmatic and economic needs of the organization. The design of the addition will be a mitigating factor for the loss of the resource. Its evaluation through historic resource review will help compensate for the loss of the bungalow, and on balance, the public benefits achieved by allowing demolition of the contributing resource and construction of the proposed addition to an existing non-contributing building outweigh the loss of the resource. Staff has suggested 2 conditions of approval. Just for the sake of time, I'm not going to go into too much detail about these. If you have questions about them, I'd be happy to answer them later. Just quickly, one of them was about the issuance of a demolition permit to hold off on that until the replacement structure Type 3 process has been completed. There's a number of reasons for that I can be happy to explain. And then the second suggested condition of approval is to recommend deconstruction rather than demolition of the bungalow to conserve materials, and we can talk more about that later. We also have somebody here who's an expert on the deconstruction policies of the city that would be also happy to speak to that. And so finally, just in summation, the City Council has these 4 following options. So you can grant the demolition review approval with the PP&D staff recommended conditions of approval. the two I noted, and return at a future date, which would be February 5th, I believe, to adopt the final decision and findings. Or you can grant the demolition review approval, but you can modify those conditions of approval as you see fit, and then also return at a future date to adopt the decisions and findings. Another option is to delay the final decision to a future date and request more alternatives be sought. And finally, you can deny the demolition review approval and return at a future date to adopt final decisions of that denial. Oh, and that does conclude staff presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We now move to the applicant presentation, and UCANDO's representatives will have 10 minutes.
Ian Roll, Design Director at Gensler.
Jason Hickox, UCANDO CEO.
Good afternoon, members of council. We started working with UCANDO in April of 2023 to evaluate program feasibility and site fit. Since then, the project team has engaged in multiple 15-minute appointments with the City of Portland, pre-application conference, weekly planning meetings with Tanya, who has been critical in this process, a design advice request hearing, outreach to the Neighborhood Association regarding demolition alternatives, a Landmarks Commission advisory meeting, and now this demolition review. Throughout this comprehensive process, the team provided multiple test fits to evaluate UCANDO's program and adjacency requirements and studied various design iterations, some of which were included in the submitted 67-page document. It wasn't until we examined a rendition without the existing building that the team was able to fully embody UCANDO's unique program, creating an appropriate vessel for their services and community. Therefore, we are seeking demolition review approval for the removal of the building at 118 Southwest Porter Street to accommodate the renovation and expansion of the existing building at 3015 Southwest First Avenue. The proposed structure will be a purpose-built home for UCANDO, providing a full calendar of first-of-its-kind wraparound services for communities and families impacted by childhood cancer. At this time, I would like to pass the mic to Jason Hickox to introduce himself and tell you more about this amazing organization.
Good afternoon, council. Again, my name is Jason Hickox, and I'm UCANDO CEO. For nearly 4 decades, UCANDO has been providing free programming for families impacted by a childhood cancer journey. For anyone unfamiliar with this journey, let me state very clearly that each member of the family is impacted by a childhood cancer diagnosis. Starting in 2018, we began a partnership with OHSU's Night Cancer Institute's Community Partnership Program to conduct research into the gaps in services that exist for these underserved families. In summary, the research confirms that while the existing ecosystem does a heroic job of saving and prolonging lives, this ecosystem is not designed to provide long-term post-treatment support for these patients or their families. The expansion envisioned in this project and dependent upon your approval represents the opportunity for a quantum leap in programming and care available to this underserved community and will become the first of its kind in the United States. UCANDO's staff and board of directors brings more than 100 years of collective experience working with these families. The design of this project is reflective not of aesthetics, efficiencies, or glitz. This design reflects our understanding of the complexity of needs of this community and our commitment to meeting those needs. We thank each council member and the city's design and historic review staff for their time and consideration, and look forward to working with you and the broader community to build what we believe will become a model for cities across the country.
The site is 6 minutes from Dornbecker and 11 minutes from Randall, Oregon's only pediatric cancer treatment facilities. For families who come from all over the state, the location is a critical benefit for access to treatment. Addressing goals of the 2035 comprehensive plan, the proposed development directly promotes a healthy, accessible, and equitable Portland that is conscious of the physical disparities of its community. Broadly, this means incorporating design solutions that allow different groups to have the same quality of experience and minimize barriers where necessary. Despite efforts to incorporate the building at 118 Southwest Porter, the lack of accessible access, level misalignment to the adjacent building, and location on the site create significant physical and economic barriers to UCANDO's program. Proposals to demolish a contributing resource will be approved if demolition has been found to be equally or more supportive of relevant goals and policies of the comprehensive plan and relevant area plans than preservation, rehabilitation, or reuse of the resource. These approval criteria considerations were introduced by staff earlier. In the 67-page document we submitted, we provided content addressing UCANDO's mission and unique operational model, the resource's condition, location, and history, the site's zoning and historic designation, the relevant plans governing the site, and multiple design iterations. Informed by this content, we have provided response to these itemized evaluation considerations. Consideration A in many ways addresses the issue of integrity of the contributing resource. The National Park Service, who administers the National Register of Historic Places, considers integrity to be the combination of location, setting, design, materials, workmanship, feeling, and association. These set of criteria help establish the degree of integrity the resource currently holds and the bar to clear to approve demolition. The resource was built in 1908 and exhibits significant wear both from prior reconfigurations and external natural elements. The property is no longer used as housing as it was during the district's period of significance and has functioned as office space for more than 40 years. Both the historic integrity of the setting and the building itself have diminished. Wedged between a commercial driveway and the school annex on the east and west, the building is no longer desirable for residential use and is in the CM2 zone with density limits on single-family development. The resource type and architectural style, a bungalow-style single-family house, is not especially unique to the district and can be found in many Portland neighborhoods. Of the 178 historically significant residents in the district, 52 are bungalows. The property is not associated with any known event, institution, architect, or builder identified in the National Register. The building is not identified as being associated with a historically marginalized individual or community. The existing building's incompatibility with the proposed use, limited usable area, and existing conditions make it difficult to underwrite an insurance policy without substantial investment and resolution of unknown construction complexity. This financial and logistics burden would undoubtedly yield compromises in program and experience. The greatest consequence would be felt by the families who depend on UCANDO's thoughtfulness and operational model free of charge. Demolition provides an opportunity for greater site capacity, site efficiency, and infrastructure better suited to the proposed use, existing zoning, and policies and objectives of the Southwest Community Plan, which are a clear public benefit, ability to meet zoning goals, and support of educational and medical institutions in enhancing the quality of education they provide and research they conduct. The existing resource has a series of obstacles to accessibility with inelegant solutions. Demolition would remove these obstacles. The development would enable UCANDO to expand their wraparound supportive services to the full calendar year to better meet the needs of communities impacted by childhood cancer, all in direct proximity to the larger cancer care ecosystem of Southwest and Inner Portland. The development would provide a place where kids can focus on being kids in the face of misfortune, hardship, and adversity. The merits of the building as representative of a bungalow-style residence and significance as a contributing historic asset are acknowledged and appreciated. In a limited fashion, the property has adapted to use as an auxiliary office for the adjacent school, though not specifically supporting relevant plans or policies. In this situation, these merits must be evaluated and balanced on its participation in the community, both present and future. The proposed use of the site supports the city's zoning aspirations, supports the 2035 Comprehensive Plan's guiding principle of human health and equity, and supports the potential for a greater network of supportive services for those affected by childhood cancer. The development mitigates the loss of the resource by replacing the use with an organization that is a first-of-its-kind resource within the medical community, elevating the potential for treatment and research. It mitigates the loss by creating a consistent, durable, and active addition to the block face, more appropriate to the mixed-use zoning. It mitigates the loss through compassionate, equitable, and accessible support for families in need all over Oregon. UCANDO recognizes the importance of memorializing our collective history and is committed to documenting the bungalow at 118 Southwest Porter and incorporating opportunities for commemoration. The demolition of the resource at 118 Southwest Porter Street and UCANDO's first-of-its-kind program and resource center better fulfills Portland's goals for a prosperous, healthy, equitable, and resilient city where everyone has access to resources, fulfills Southwest Portland's objective to focus employment opportunities with clear public benefit in mixed-use areas, expands the network of medical and supportive services for those affected by childhood cancers, and will be designed through the city's historic design review process, be constructed of quality, long-lasting materials, and result in a new, innovative, and compassionate resource that is radically inclusive and accessible to a community that is deserving of everything that UCAN provides through their unique model. The demolition of the resource and redevelopment are more supportive of the goals and policies of the comprehensive plan and the Southwest Community Plan, and better fulfill the city's goals and plans than retention of the existing resource. We thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you both for the information. We now have the opportunity to hear from supporters of the applicant. Keelan, do you have the list to call folks up? Great.
I do.
And speakers in this section will have 3 minutes each. And I'm told that for land use applications, we need to be very tight with that timeline. So we will be asking the clerk to cut the microphones at 3 minutes.
I'll call people up in groups of 3, so feel free to come up and have a seat when your name is called. First up, Jason Hickox? No, okay. Thank you. First up, we have Sean McMahon, Michael Schwartz, and John Russell.
Thank you all. Welcome.
Ladies and gentlemen of council, I'm John Russell. My business address is 200 Southwest Market Street. And I've asked to testify for 2 reasons. First, I think I can add some credibility to the unanimous Landmark Commission about whether this little building is a worthy landmark. I was a member of the Landmark Commission in the early 70s, and what we did really in those early days was to try to identify buildings that were worthy of landmark status. At the time, I owned and was living in an 1859 building, the second oldest building in the city, and I currently own the oldest building, an 1857 building at the corner of Nadeau and Oak. So I think I have some credibility to endorse the unanimous Landmark Commission report. But when I served on the Landmark Commission, I pioneered the position that landmark demolitions should be analyzed in terms of the value of the demolition. In the 1960s, for example, landmark buildings were torn down right and left to make way for asphalt parking. That's not a value that would warrant the demolition. 40 years ago, I developed the 30-story aluminum building, PacWest Center, across the street. A little building needed to be demolished to make way for that building, but nobody objected because they realized the value of the building that would replace it. But the second reason for testifying in this case is that I have a personal reason for supporting the staff. 60 years ago, my 2-year-old niece died of leukemia, the first child of my sister. And Laura was supported by the hospitals, but my sister and her husband were completely unsupported in ways that this process would do. At the time, my sister was a middle school teacher. She had to quit in order to adopt the time to support her daughter and second child. But there was no support for them. There was support for the child with leukemia, but not for the family. Eventually, my sister and her husband were divorced. And so the value of this demolition is that this will enable this noble nonprofit to complete its facility to provide just the sort of support that my sister and her family needed. Thank you.
Hello, members of City Council. My name is Dr. Michael Schwartz, and I'm a licensed psychologist in Southwest Portland, and I've partnered with UCAN since 2023. I've become uniquely familiar with the child, sibling, and parental needs of the population that is served by You Can Do. You Can Do is actively seeking to fill gaps in services for these families in a way that is unlike anything that exists in our country currently. They're hoping to provide these services free of charge at a time when quality care is hard to come by, much less free. I fully support their desire to create a caregiver clinic after demolishing the building in question. Not only will this pioneer a national model of supporting such families, but it will facilitate the creation of a mental health space that will fulfill the legal and ethical obligations for practicing psychology. A distinct clinical space for therapy is needed to allow caregivers the ability to process the emotional and physical burdens that they're carrying on a daily basis. A separate clinical space will allow for parents to safely and privately cope with some of the deepest fears that any parent may ever have to reckon with. Without a separate space, we'd be asking parents to wear a party hat in the same space that they process their child's mortality. This new building, separate from the loft, will maximize parent privacy and facilitate confidentiality. With the distinct group therapy space, it will ensure that the identities of parents seeking mental health support are protected. It will also strengthen You Can Do's ability to keep private health information separate from their programming space and fulfill HIPAA privacy requirements. Finally, therapy is meant to be done behind closed doors. A separate physical space will promote felt emotional safety, help to contain big feelings, and prevent unnecessary interruptions from roaming children and teenagers. So please continue to consider You Can Do's plan to create a distinct caregiver clinic space. While the loss of a historic building is never insignificant, the good that will come from the replacement is tremendous, necessary, and makes a tangible stride to addressing mental health needs of an underserved cross-section of our community. Thank you for your consideration.
Yes, hello, everyone. My name is Sean McMahon. I'm a resident of Southwest Portland for the past 20 years, and I came into contact with You Can Do when my daughter, Sabina, who's sitting over there, she was diagnosed with cancer in 2021. So everything they're describing here, firsthand experience that what my family's going through. And unfortunately, if I can piggyback on the comments of the first person here, things have gotten a little bit better in 60 years, but they're not perfect. Counseling and things like that have gotten better, but, we've benefited from the care at Dornbecker and at Randall. And if you brought all those providers out here, the administrators and whoever, they'd tell you that it's not perfect and it needs to get better. And so one of the key things that happens is when you go through treatment, you probably all heard how you ring the bell when you finish your chemotherapy or whatever your given treatment is. Most of the early survivorship programs here in Portland, you have to wait 2 years. The kid has to be 2 years cancer-free before they can enroll in those survivorship programs. And so that's a long 2 years when you're talking about the counseling of some of these kids, particularly a teenager, right? And so what You Can Do is trying to do here is fill, what I call the donut hole, right? You might be familiar with donut hole with Medicare. Like, this is a mental health donut hole for kids with cancer. And so I applaud You Can Do because they're trying to do what we'd all hope any nonprofit would do and step up and help the community and do what the hospitals wish they could do, but just can't quite get it done. And as Jason mentioned, all this stuff is for free. And so that's another huge benefit. Dr. Schwartz also talked about the importance of this particular space on the property itself. And he outlined how it's, adjacent but separate. And that's, we have a lot of hardcore conversations as parents. There's parents who've lost their child, parents who are staring down the precipice of perhaps losing their child. So the notion that you could have that hard, or like you said, heavy conversation with background noise of kids giggling and laughing on the other side of the door, or perhaps having to confront your own child when you walk out that room and pretend you didn't just cry your eyeballs out because you're talking about heavy stuff, that's not right. And so what I like about this plan is it takes that space, it puts it a little separately, it brings in professional counseling help, not just for the kids, but for the parents. I mean, this is the most perfect use of what this corner of that property could be. And again, I just want to commend You Can Do and the whole team. They built this compassionate environment, which you can see by all the red sweaters out here, and even some of us who aren't in our sweaters. So I would just please allow this organization to use this space to fill a huge need in our community. Thank you for your time.
Thank you all for your testimony.
Next up, we have Kay Yancey, Stephen Cassing, and Jean Cripps.
Welcome to all three of you.
Hello, my name is Kay Yancey, and I have volunteered at You Can Do for 14 years, and I've filled a lot of different roles in those years that I've volunteered. I feel so lucky to have been a part of and still a part of this organization. In addition to the incredible reward that I get from working with the campers and the staff, You Can Do has connected me to a community that I otherwise would not be a part of, as well as connections to an even greater part of the Portland community. My involvement has allowed me to see how effectively this organization achieves its mission and meets the needs of our families. What we do at our camps and with our programs is magic. And I don't know if I can even tell you why that is, but part of it is the connection and the community that we provide for the families and the kids that attend our camps and participate in our other programs. I've heard firsthand from kids that camp is life-changing. And it's because of that community and connection when they feel like they've lost that with their cancer diagnosis. It's because of the joy and the fun that we have when we go to camp. And we also provide them with an awareness that cancer does not have to define who they are. They come to our camps and our programs and they laugh, they sing, they play, and they make friends for a lifetime. My experience with family camp has shown me definitively that what we do is unique, and it's something that's been needed for a very long time, as has already been testified to. Our family camp has proven to be remarkably supportive, therapeutic, full of fun and silliness, and appreciated beyond measure. Parents have talked about how they need something beyond the hospital. And that's one reason our camps are so successful. But we know they need more. We also know that, and have heard parents and kids alike tell us that our programs, our camps, do things in a way that other camps don't do. Our activities and our fun and our silliness and our services go beyond what other camps offer. I just want to say that I've heard parents say at family camp they can't wait for the loft to open because they want that chance to continue with those connections that they've made. And the loft is going to offer something to the pediatric cancer community that you can't find elsewhere. So we're very excited to see it unfold, and thank you for your time.
City Council members, good afternoon, and thank you for allowing me to share my testimony with you today. My name is Stephen Cassing, and I'm the father of Connor, a now 14-year-old brain tumor patient, currently undergoing treatment at Dornbecker's Children's Hospital. I'm here to provide you with a living example of how the You Can Do Loft would directly impact not only the children experiencing these difficult medical situations, but also the parents, siblings, families, and caregivers. My son Connor was diagnosed with a brain tumor 2.5 years ago. He has gone through countless days and weeks of hospital stays, procedures, and treatments. He has missed school, band concerts, birthday parties, and all of the things that any other teenager would be enjoying at this point in their lives. Myself and my family have had to endure 14-hour waits during brain surgery, watching our child seize, dealing with cognitive changes, missed work, and missed family weddings. The toll this takes on my son and my family is immense and immeasurable. My son has received some amazing medical care, but we found ourselves lacking in our personal care options until we found You Can Do. Through You Can Do's camps and various other programs, we found care that expanded beyond the standard medical care, including mental health services by licensed clinicians, support groups with people who share similar journeys, and social events. You Can Do loves and impacts my whole family. But a gap exists where this support is not available year-round, often only seasonally, and is not consolidated in one centralized location. That is where the You Can Do Loft comes into the picture. The loft will help fill the gap of these needs. It will give my family and other families dealing with these challenges a location where we can experience rest and respite in a safe and a supportive environment. The loft will allow my son and my family access to much-needed mental health care for the trauma we are going through. It will provide a place to socialize and rest after long days of procedures. There will be services and events for families and caregivers who often get overlooked in the impacts of these situations, including educational, emotional, financial, and insurance support. Importantly, it will provide these amazing services year-round in a centralized locations to all families in need. These are free of charge, truly making this an enormously impactful community service. The loft will directly benefit my son, my family, and the greater community, reflecting Portland's reputation for its compassionate community services and enhancing the overall well-being of Portland residents. I respectfully urge the City Council to support the construction of the You Can Do Loft and the significant public benefit it will bring to the community. From my son Connor, my family, and all families traversing this most difficult time in their lives, thank you.
Good afternoon, councilors. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to testimony in support of You Can Do's expansion today. My name is Jean Cripps, and I'm also here with my kids up there, Avery and Wesley. As you've already heard today, You Can Do was started to provide a safe and fun camp experience for children impacted by cancer, giving childhood back to kids who might not otherwise get to experience some of those crucial kid experiences. And this long-running camp has demonstrated year over year its impact on children and their siblings, and as such, even added a family camp a few years ago to include the parents and caregivers. We were fortunate enough to learn of You Can Do when we moved to Portland in 2021, right after we actually completed cancer treatment back in California. We've had the opportunity to attend family camp twice, and to be completely honest, I wondered both summers when we were there whether we should even be there, considering that we were done with treatment and sort of made it to the other side. But I soon learned that the answer was a resounding yes, because as all these families and caregivers who have gone through it know, a cancer journey is a marathon and not a sprint, and it doesn't simply end with treatment. To complete treatment is, of course, a time of celebration, but then comes navigation of the post-treatment world. Not only practical questions like, what is a 504 plan? What is an IEP plan? Does my child need one? But also the, whoa, what did I just go through? What does life look like now that we don't go to the hospital every week? And how do we ease back into normal life now that we've been living on high alert for the last 3 years? How do we live now? And so with thoughtful conversations, sometimes guided by licensed psychologists and clinicians, as well as time and space just to connect with all these wonderful families at camp, it was so incredibly valuable to hear from and just be with parents who had navigated the journey ahead of us, or who are in the same place as us, or who are even just beginning. We were also likewise able to share from our own experiences and hopefully answer questions and provide hope to families who are maybe a little just getting started on their journey behind us, who are still in the midst of treatment. You Can Do's expansion will not only be physical, but with the loft, You Can Do will be able to do even more in its mission to spread hope, joy, and connection for anyone impacted by childhood cancer, not just for a week or two out in the woods, out at camp, away from real life living, but right here in the city, and all along the way, from diagnosis through treatment and even beyond. That would serve and strengthen the greater good, and there's, as you've heard, there's really no place like this that exists, and the loft would provide clearly a public benefit to everyone who has been impacted or will be impacted by childhood cancer every day. So I hope you'll agree that it's a much needed and welcomed resource right here in the city, close to the hospitals where these families are getting treatment, and that you'll approve the next steps for the planned expansion. Thank you.
Thank you all for being here with us.
Next up, we have Ian Holdsworth, Kate McMahon, Abigail Callbreath.
Welcome.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Ian Holsworth, and I'm a parent of a cancer kid. Not only that, but a cancer kid whose treatment corresponded with COVID, which meant isolation. Closures of lounges and places where parents could talk with each other, closure of the play spaces where kids could play and have a semblance of normalcy when they're in a hospital day over and night after night after night. I know what it's like for my kid to be isolated simply because he has cancer. You Can Do found us through the grapevine of doctors and nurses at Randall's Hospital who believed so wholeheartedly in the camp that they convinced a shy 11-year-old that it would be life-altering. And it was. Through the camp and family camp and the other programs that You Can Do provides, my son and his brothers found a tribe that truly understands them. At family camp, there's a parent lounge area, a place where only parents can go. No kids, no camp counselors. It's a magical place for parents to talk to each other and talk to other parents that have kids that have cancer. It's a safe place for us to laugh and to cry together, to form bonds. You Can Do provided counseling sessions in this lounge area that were profound. It did more for me and my wife's emotional well-being than anyone can imagine. Having programs like that available year-round will be transformative for us parents. The location of this space cannot be in a better location relative to Dornbecker and Randall Children's Hospital. The programming this building will provide is immeasurable. It'll give my tribe of parents a safe place to meet, to heal, to mourn, and to celebrate. And it'll provide my child's tribe of isolated kids a safe place to just be kids. So I urge you to approve this. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kate McMahon. Thank you for having me here today. You've already heard from my husband, Sean McMahon, and I hope soon you can hear from my daughter, Sabina McMahon. I first want to just say that sitting next to me is my dear friend, Ian. I met Ian's wife 3 days after my daughter's diagnosis in September of 2021. And I'll never forget the words she spoke, welcome to the club, no one wants to join it. But we're here for you. And that began a personal networking venture that I've been on in this club. I have sought out other mothers, other parents, other families, other children from within the halls of Dornbecker, where children behind 21 doors of clinic rooms are being treated for cancer. And it's all been through my own footwork, really. People have found me and I have found them. And when I found You Can Do, I found a hub where it was easier to connect with families and to introduce my children to other children who have had similar experiences. You Can Do doesn't just provide camps. It also provides learning opportunities for our children, growth opportunities, taking their cancer and through some sort of alchemy, turning it into strength and leadership through their program, You Can Do Core for teens. These are things that are done now through the resources they can scrape together. But imagine a place where it is a physical hub and it has resources where parents and children can go to get the social and mental support they truly need. Regarding the mental health part of it, that was another journey we had to take on our own. And it took 6 months to get into the first therapist that specializes in childhood cancer for teens. And so I also want to nod to the historic nature of this location. This, as stated by the planning committee, is a place that has been called Old South Portland, where immigrants and people who fled strife came without English language, maybe without money, and with health and medical needs. And this is a place that You Can Do would honor. It would provide something historic and relevant to the location and would commemorate what the history of this neighborhood is all about. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Abigail Colbreth, and my son Wesley was diagnosed in 2017 with cancer and relapsed in 2020. So we've been around the block. We've been all over the place. I just wanted to say that there is nothing like You Can Do. I will never forget driving home from family camp the first day, and I was like, what was your favorite part, Wesley? He's like, all the friends I have. And so it just gives you somewhere to be in a situation that is so very isolating. People don't want to talk about it. They don't want to hear about it. And to find a group of people that totally understand everything you're going through is amazing. And You Can Do is the only organization around here that cares about all of us. There are plenty while you're going through treatment that care about, Wesley and what he's going through and all of that and, keeping everything going, but not many care when you're done. And we're not even done. He won't be considered cured until next year. No, this year. Sorry. I can't even remember. We've been doing it for so long, but there's just not much out there to help, to give you community or, help you not feel alone. And that's something that You Can Do 100% has done for us. And one thing I have learned is that You Can Do does everything with intention. They think everything through, and they're gonna think about the whole picture. So I don't think they would bring it to you if they hadn't done, I heard him say 67 pages. I'm like, that just sounds regular for You Can Do. So I just wanted to come and say that they're an amazing organization, and please consider it because it would benefit the community a whole lot.
Thank you all so much for your time today.
Next up, we have Lisa Colvey, Bridget Bell, and Monica Loomis.
You can go ahead and get started while we wait for others to come down. Thank you.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Lisa Colvey. In 2018, my daughter had emergency brain surgery, which revealed she had glioblastoma brain cancer, a devastating diagnosis for a sophomore in high school. Another brain surgery later and 2 years of treatment, and I guess what stands out to me is You Can Do. She got to go to camp 1 week during the year, but I'll take it. She got to go and have fun, outrageous fun, meet friends, and there's no stares, and there's no whispers, and no unwanted questions. A few years later came family camp. And along with it, this brilliant concept of the of the parent loungery. Again, 1 week a year, but precious hours that we had each day to meet with each other and talk. We all, for those of us that have kids, we're parents 24/7. For You Can Do families, we're doing that, and we're navigating treatment, and we're navigating side effects and insurance issues. You can try to lean on your friends, but it's a lot to ask that somebody contemplate the death of their child. Approving this petition means that You Can Do can have a place for the parent loungery. This place is sacred, and we would have it all year long. It's a place where we can go and really say the hard things, have the hard conversations, maybe admit things we've never been able to admit before, or we can maybe decompose and then recompose before we see our kids, who are probably in another part having a great time. Approval means that they can do the design that they need to do, and the design is key. It means that they can provide the services possible, the best services possible, so that parents can be the best support possible for our kids, because taking care of parents is taking care of kids. This facility would be a place that I know all of you and the citizens of Portland would be very, very proud of. And I know that my daughter, who is now a 4-year cancer survivor, would be very proud of it too. After this hearing, you're going to go and you're going to talk about this. You're going to balance the equities. And I would say that the benefit to the city far outweighs the decommissioning of this house. And I urge you to approve the petition. Thank you.
Okay, I'm Bridget Bell from Milwaukee. Okay, so You Can Do is a unicorn of an organization that we have been lucky enough to be part of for almost 2 years. My kids are 6 and 7, so we've been part of family camp for the last 2 summers. I remember coming home from our first year, looking at my kids, wondering who the heck they were. I mentioned it to my friend who was a camp counselor for years, and she simply said, "Camp is transformative." I had no idea. My cancer kid truly found himself there. He became a new person. With the confidence and the creativity spurred by just 1 week of camp, gone was Nate and in came Wolfie Wolfie. Sure, our new kindy parents may look a little sideways when hearing his name, but if you knew him, you would know that he truly is Wolfie Wolfie, and we have camp to thank for that. We all know organizations that do great things for cancer kids. Where You Can Do differentiates themselves is their whole family approach. Being a sibling of a kid with cancer is not easy. Their lives also get upended. And for a bit, all focus is on the sick child. At You Can Do, siblings are their own people, and they're celebrated and supported just as much. We were 8 months into Wolfie's cancer journey, our first camp year. He was skinny, bald, and walking on his toes from the chemo drugs and early treatment. It was still too dangerous for him to go to school. My husband and I thought we knew what tired was while working full-time with a 1 and 2-year-old during the COVID shutdown, but we didn't. You Can Do really seems to see us parents. They know we are exhausted and sad and furious and confused and thankful and devastated. They know that we desperately want to spend every second with our kids, hold them tight, and make magical family memories. But we also need time away to take care of ourselves, to not have to be brave for just a little bit, and to connect with others that know. You Can Do has carefully curated programming to allow for all of these conflicting emotions and needs. I don't know how they manage to balance this for so many families who all need just something a little bit different, but they do. The community built between the caregivers, the professionals, and the volunteers who love our children is amazing. And I know that I'm lucky to be part of it, and I know that this is selfish, but it's not enough. Having year-round programming and physical space that You Can Do is working for would change lives. It would provide whole families much-needed support to navigate the harrowing experience that is childhood cancer, and I promise you that it is a family experience. No one comes through it unscathed. You Can Do has proven themselves dedicated to helping, and I urge you to help them expand their ability to reach more families more consistently.
Thank you both for sharing your stories.
Monica Loomis.
Hi, I'm Monica. I'm joining via Zoom. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, great. So quite a few people have gotten emotional, and I will likely do the same. These are tender things to talk about. My son Halston was diagnosed with brain cancer, and he fought nearly his entire life. He passed away a little over a year ago. And the services that You Can Do provide to myself and my family still have such an impact. I can't even begin to explain what the loft would mean. Specifically, the mental health services that would be provided. it is so hard to find quality counseling services for families who have been impacted by pediatric cancer. And it's even harder to find ones that have been impacted with their child's death as well. I don't need 3 minutes to tell you how important it is. Thank you.
Thank you for being with us today, Monica.
Next up, we have Emily Stuckman, Nick Sherbo, and Rick Bruno.
Hello, my name is Nick Sherbo. I'm a lifelong Portlander. I grew up here. I went to school here. I own 2 businesses in the city, and I'm a volunteer at You Can Do. One of the things I love about Portland is our commitment to community building and to service. And I was first introduced to the idea of service as a student at the environmental middle school. Since then, I've spent many hours volunteering at the Blanchet House, Special Olympics Oregon, pulling ivy in Johnson Creek, and pulling nails at the Rebuilding Center. None of those experiences come close to what I've seen at You Can Do. I've never seen an organization make as great an impact on the community it serves. For the first 20 or more years, You Can Do meant this 1 week-long summer camp in June. And as a counselor at the June camp, I have witnessed remarkable resiliency, strength, compassion, vulnerability from the staff, the volunteers, but especially from the campers. I've heard from bereaved parents that that week was the best week of their child's life. I've also heard from parents that cancer robbed their child of the very nature of childhood. They just wanted to be a kid, and cancer and the treatments and all the disruptions robbed them of that. But that it was restored by their time at camp. You just heard someone speak to that. The kid that they would pick up at the end of the week was the one they remembered from before the diagnosis, the goofball, the athlete, the leader, not just the kid with cancer. In the past few years, You Can Do has grown from this week-long flagship program to providing more for these families, including the teen retreat, the family camp, and You Can Do Core, which allows these kids who so often find themselves as the recipient of other people's attention, other people's care, other people's effort, and gives them the opportunity to be of service themselves, to diagnose a need in their community, set about creating a plan and addressing it. I am incredibly proud of the growth of this organization, but I was naive until recently about what really necessitated this growth. And what I learned was that although we were providing something unique and impactful, that in many cases, it was grossly insufficient. Pediatric cancer has a lifelong effect on almost everyone diagnosed. Treatment can cause severe cognitive impairments and deficits, amputations, and campers who age out of youth programming often feel adrift and cut off from the community that has been so important to them. Parents who had finally built up the courage to allow their vulnerable, precious child to be away from them for a week so that they could finally rest, take care of themselves, have told us that a week is not enough. We know that the need is there because the families have told us that the need is there, and we know that You Can Do is the right organization.
Good afternoon, council members. Thank you for
the opportunity to come testify and lend my voice. My name is Rick Bruno. I am a cancer parent. My daughter Holly was diagnosed in the fall of 2015 and passed away in March of 2018 after a long battle with cancer. During that time, we were introduced to Camp You Can Do by the wonderful staff, doctors, nurses at the Randall Children's Hospital. Doctors such as Dr. Ponscom, Nurse Buttercup, Nurse Goldilocks introduced us and recommended that we look into and find more out about this program. The next year, my daughter Holly was able to, her shy yet spunky self, able to attend with a sibling at the week-long camp to have an opportunity to just forget for a week. Forget the treatment she was going through, forget the pain and the suffering, and just enjoy and be with those of like situation and like understanding, and just be able to have an enjoyable time. It was hard for her as the shy person that she was, but she was able to connect with the nurses and others who were there to feel more comfortable, and the staff goes above and beyond in all that they do to make that week the most magical, transformative week that these kids experience. Since that time, she was able to go another year before her passing, and we were able to attend as a family the family camp that the organization instituted as well. Cancer does have an impact beyond the child. It affects the whole family, and as you can see from my emotion now, it continues to affect our lives. We're grateful for the organizations such as You Can Do who allow us to gather together with other families, with other participants, and those who understand what we are going through, what we have gone through, and those who will, unfortunately, in the future go through this. I wish there was not a need for You Can Do or any other cancer organization, but there is, and there always will be. We're grateful that they are here, they provide these services, and the opportunity to expand those services to year-round with the loft, understanding that we are asking for the approval of the demolition of the historic structure and the significance that does have. They are very mindful of that, but we are very grateful for your consideration and hope you will vote in your approval. Thank you for your time.
Thank you both for being here.
Emily Stuckman. Next up, we have Emily Harnden, Susan Stark, and Nicholas McCullough.
Good afternoon. I'm Emily Harnden, also known as Scamper. And my story is not one of having a child with cancer, but mine is one of starting at Camp You Can Do in the very beginning. We started with my sister being the first director, and then she came home and said, "You've got to come and help us. We need help." So in the end, there are 22 of our family members, brothers, sisters, cousins, grandchildren now that have been at camp. 225 years and counting we've been at camp. And I listen to these families and the stories are repeated over and over and over again. But one thing I can tell you are some stories that are, to me, still to this day, make the hair stand on my arms, is that we had a little girl that was at camp and she went to archery. She had one arm and she watched, and the counselor went, "Do you want to try?" "Yeah." Well, she had one arm. You can't hold a bow with one arm. So what did he do? He sat down on the ground, crisscross applesauce, put her in his lap, and she put her feet on the bow, and she pulled back that arrow, and it shot straight and true to the target, better than anybody in the whole camp could shoot an arrow. And so you know what happened? everybody wanted to do it Sarah's way. Everybody was sitting on the floor, or on the dirt, shooting arrows that way. Then I called the butterfly man, this 14-year-old who came to camp, his dad pushing him through the registration line, his hat pulled down over his head. He didn't want to be there. Here's a young man who is an athlete. We have lots of these. Repeats over and over again. And we had a rope swing down at the pond. And about Wednesday of the week, he said to well, we called him the chief, and he said, "Do you think I could try?" So he went down to the lake kind of later in the afternoon, and he got on that rope swing. And he went out over the pond and dropped into the water, and it was like the butterfly coming out of his cocoon. He had a grin across his face like you wouldn't believe. And you know, next year he came to camp, and we had bicycles that year at camp, and he showed everybody, you can ride with one leg. It was not a problem. So I just want you to know that every story you hear here is heartfelt. We need to have Camp You Can Do. 1 week out of the year, we planted that seed. 1 week we had a seed that planted, the parents would come back and say, "That's my child?" They would cry going out of camp because that's not the child they brought to camp. Those kids would sing the songs and tell stories all the way home. So please approve the loft. You're doing a wonderful thing when you do that for our families. Thank you.
Good afternoon, council members. Thanks for the opportunity to come talk to you today. I'm a You Can Do family. My name is Nicholas McCullough. I'm a You Can Do family member. I want to echo and amplify all of the heartfelt comments from all of our You Can Do families today. I thought it would be good to talk about the land use a little bit. My experience as growing up in Portland, I have some memories of the Lair Hill neighborhood. I didn't know about the historic district at the time, but I did know about the Children's Museum there at the park. And I know about the YMCA, what's now Dunaway Park. And spent a lot of time in those places. More recently, one of my daughter's going to school in the neighborhood right there. And I just want to say, I think of that neighborhood, that's the neighborhood where kids go to play, to have fun, to learn, to grow, and now to heal as well. So I think that the land use here is extremely consistent with my experience of the neighborhood as a longtime Portlander. I also want to just reference back to one of the previous testifiers referring to the historic nature of the neighborhood. We recognize historic neighborhoods sometimes for the architecture, but also sometimes for the culture and the history. And the history here as a neighborhood as an entry point for immigrant communities, people coming, experiencing disadvantages, and leaning on each other for support. That's what this community here is doing. We lean on each other for support. You can see it by how many of us are here. You can hear it in how much love there is between everybody here who's met at camp. So we are honoring the meaning of having a supportive community. I think that I can't say that this is making history to make a facility like this, but it is certainly in the spirit of that preservation. So that's all the comment I have for that. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Let's see, Susan Stark. Okay, we have Sally Novitsky, Randall Johnson, Bill Mitchener. No. Okay. Alan Mitchener, Melissa Yankovich, Beth Marshall. Sage Palmer, Laura Ward Collins, Elizabeth Gamble Caldwell.
Thank you. Welcome. Hello, council members. My name is Sage Palmer, and I have been just asked to read a quote into the record by Shannon Pujol, who is a registered nurse in the Pediatric Hematology and Oncology Department at Dornbecker's Children's Hospital. Volunteering at Camp You Can Do was a breath of fresh air. As a nurse at the hospital, I often see the weight of illness overshadowing the joy of connection. But at camp, I witnessed something beautiful. Kids laughing, playing, and forming friendships in an environment free from judgment. It was incredible to see them thrive, embracing their true selves while creating cherished memories. The laughter and joy that filled those days remind me of the resilience of the human spirit and the profound impact of community. Those moments reaffirmed why I became a nurse in the first place, and it's an experience I will carry with me forever. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Laura Ward Collins, Elizabeth Gamble Caldwell, Scott Mears, and Kristen Scheibel. I see Scott. I think we have Kristen online with us.
I'm here.
Okay, great. Go ahead, Kristen.
Hi, friends. I see a lot of friends out there. And thank you, council members. I really appreciate the time and consideration that you're giving this issue. Like my friend Sugar, Monica, we're long haulers in the cancer world. My son Jasper was diagnosed in 2013. So yes, we're about to embark on a 12th year of our cancer journey. For us, there have been 4 recurrences. So we are in an unusual category where we never even can access those services 2 years out. What we can't access is You Can Do. And you can hear Jasper in the background there, sorry. You Can Do has been truly remarkable for us. My son is now in a wheelchair, and there aren't many things he can do the way that he could do when he was a 3-year-old. The exceptional space that is envisioned by the remarkable staff at You Can Do with the vision of Jason Hickox is fully accessible. I like to talk about radical accessibility. They say radical inclusivity. It's of utmost importance that this design be the most accessible design. A lot of these kids find the need to periodically be in wheelchairs or permanently be in wheelchairs. To me, that type of radical inclusivity is of key importance. The building that now stands at the site, while absolutely adorable, is probably the least accessible building I have met with in Portland. And I should say I grew up in Southwest Portland. I love the Lair Hill neighborhood, but it really, I think, would jeopardize the future of the neighborhood not to consider the progressive nature of what You Can Do offers and how it really does capture the ethics that I think define us as Portland. We have been around the country for cancer care. It started in Dana-Farber in Boston because he has a pernicious form of metastatic alveolar rhabdomyosarcoma. We started in Dana-Farber with multiple surgeries and radiation. We've been to Seattle Children's for proton therapy, radiation, and surgeries. MD Anderson in Houston, St. Jude's in Memphis for CAR-T, which didn't work for us. But what works is staying home in our home community at Dornbecker with our friends who are all gathered there. Stayed at Ronald McDonald Houses that offers a different level of support for families. This is a whole new vision. It would make Portland unique in the entire country. I would be so proud if we could get this going. Frankly, these kids and our families, we all need a win. We're tireless, we're tired. Our caregivers have care fatigue. You Can Do has no fatigue. It's just all movement forward. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, and thank you, council members. Scott Mears, living down in Goose Hollow neighborhood. Been a You Can Do volunteer for 4+ years with the You Can Do core team. And I just wanted to share that the teenage group, You Can Do core, which is both cancer kids and their siblings, You Can Do provides a platform for them to give back to the community. So think about that for a minute. Cancer kids and their siblings giving back to the community. And they do a great job. It's unbelievable. For instance, this year, they split up into two groups, which it's grown every year since its inception. And this year, they split into two groups, approximately 10 in each, on each group. And they did a holiday bazaar raising, I think it was enough to give back $800 to both Randall's and Dornbecker hospitals. So that came from You Can Do kids. They also, the other team developed and handmade a mural, which is intended to go up around the community to provide exposure and information regarding cancer for kids. So I just wanted you to know that these kids not only going through a horrific event, something that thankfully I didn't have to, and my daughter didn't have to, so I can only imagine what they've gone through, giving back to the community. So I just urge you to give back to this community by approving this, what we need. Thank you.
Thank you.
Laura Ward Collins is online. Laura, are you able to unmute? If you're on the phone, Laura, you can press *6 to unmute. Okay, that completes testimony.
Thank you all so much for sharing your stories today. We are now moving to hear from the Historic Landmarks Commission. You will have 5 minutes to share with us.
Good afternoon, City Councilors. I'm Andrew Smith. I'm the current chair of the Portland Historic Landmarks Commission. And congratulations to each of you for your election to this brand new experiment, I guess, for lack of a better phrase. As a commission, Landmarks will be in front of you in a few months for a more detailed discussion of what it is, what we do and what we are doing. But in short, we advise City Council and other city agencies on historic preservation matters. We advocate for identifying and retaining resources in the city which have historic, architectural, or cultural importance. We review National Register nominations and provide recommendations to the State Advisory Committee. And in our quasi-judicial capacity, we review and decide on land use development proposals related to historic buildings and historic districts. Landmarks Commission is the appeal body for Type 2 land use cases, the review and approval body for Type 3 land use cases, and advisory body to this council for Type 4 demolition cases. And that is the capacity for which I'm providing today's testimony. It may come as a surprise to some of you that the Landmarks Commission is recommending approval of a demolition application. We do not make this recommendation lightly, but we feel that the case for demolition has been made for the following 5 reasons. First, there is a clear public benefit being provided. This move clears the way for You Can Do to provide their much needed innovative support to families who are facing the unthinkable. Second, there are no reasonable alternative sites for this expansion. Its proximity to OHSU and Randall Children's Hospital makes it an ideal location for the proposed use. Third, the bungalow does not have unique historic significance beyond its modest contribution to the historic district. In other words, it is not architecturally rare or outstanding, and its previous occupants were not associated with a significant person or underserved communities. Next, the property has been in commercial use for decades and therefore does not remove any housing units from the local market. And finally, the commission was satisfied that alternative ways to fit the applicant's program onto the site to avoid demolition were thoroughly investigated. If City Council determines that approval is merited, the Landmarks Commission strongly recommends 2 conditions of approval consistent with the staff report. First, we want to know that something of public value will be built on the site and that it will contribute to its neighborhood. Therefore, we ask that the land use case for the replacement structure must be approved before a demolition permit is issued. And second, the house must be deconstructed by a certified deconstruction contractor consistent with the city's Deconstruction of Buildings Code Chapter 17.106, with the goal of diverting most of the building materials from landfills. The materials shall be salvaged, reused, or recycled through sale to a local salvaged building material retailer or donated to a local building material nonprofit. In conclusion, Landmarks commissioners present for the Type 4 review hearing unanimously agreed that the good that will come from the proposed development will outweigh the loss to the district from the house's demolition. It is always the goal of preservation to serve the public's best interest. Thank you for considering these recommendations, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have as the hearing moves forward. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Do we have any rebuttal to, or I'm sorry, do we have any opponents of the application?
No one signed up.
And that means that we are skipping past the rebuttal, is that correct?
Yes, there would be nothing to rebut. The council can call the applicant or staff back up if you have questions for them. Otherwise, you can move on, close the hearing and move on to discussion.
Council discussion. Are there any technical questions? This isn't the point for discussion yet. Okay, Councilor Dunphy.
Thank you. I do have a technical question for staff. But before I say it, I just want to mention that I spent the last 5 years working for the American Cancer Society. I learned that absolutely everybody has a cancer story and they are all horrible, and it doesn't get easier to hear them. But I know that you all spent your afternoon to be here for a reason, and that those reasons are horrible, and you're here to make sure that nobody else has to go through that. So thank you. I'm deeply appreciative to every single one of you for showing up this afternoon and spending time. And I'm sorry for all you've had to go through and all your families have had to go through. I'm so glad you're here to help. My boring and technical question is for staff. Why is deconstruction a condition? It is supposed to be the law.
Sorry, that's a great question. So the deconstruction is a law for residential buildings. And even though this is a house that was built as a residential structure, it was converted to commercial occupancy. So as far as building code goes, it's rated as a commercial structure. At this time, the deconstruction laws are not applicable to commercial structures. However, we do have an expert from the Bureau of Planning and Sustainability that could speak to this more if you wanted to get some more information, but they are doing a pilot program to potentially start moving commercial buildings into the program. So they're highly encouraging this building to join the pilot and seek some grant money through that pilot. So we'll see how that goes.
Cool, thank you.
Councilor Canal, technical question?
Yeah, I have two. The first is for our attorneys. Do we need to amend that in, or is that, if we were to approve this today, would these conditions be part of it already?
So the motion could be, if you wanted to accept the staff report with the conditions, it would be exactly that. It would be a motion to accept the staff report with the conditions proposed by staff.
Got it. And then my other question for you, actually, you mentioned that this would have to come back to us in a little while. Is that date required to be February 5th?
I might leave to the city attorneys on this. I believe so. That's the date we've set.
So it doesn't have to be February 5th, but it does have to be a date and time certain. For land use, quasi-judicial, we always have to, or all land use, we have to set a date and time certain so people can know. So if it's not, I believe that's the next council session, and I think the council clerk has reserved a very early time, and it can be a quick item. Yes.
February 5th is the assumed date because if we don't have other questions or changes after today, that would be the soonest that we have a council meeting when folks could come back for approval. And we've talked about not wanting to be an impediment to land use changes moving forward. We could certainly ask for the clerk to reschedule that and have the clerk and the attorneys figure out a different date if you have concerns with February 5th.
I only do if you do.
Could I add just one point of order? I don't know what my parliamentary thing to ask to interject, but also the type 3 for the replacement building is on track for a February 10th hearing. So we'd love to get this one completely approved. And that's if possible.
And then Tanya, remind me, is there a 120-day deadline?
No, this is a de novo.
So they've waived the 120 days. Yeah. Okay. So it is mostly, we do have to set a date and time certain. That is the next date and time certain. And staff would like to know kind of council's decisions as they handle the subsequent land use review.
So yeah, my only concern is if you as presiding officer who knows how the agenda is going.
This should be a short agenda item. It's one that is penciled in already, so I think we can make that work, but I appreciate you checking in on it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor Zimmerman, technical question?
Same topic, though, and probably from the other side. Surprise, surprise. So staff, in terms of this deconstruction versus demolition, as I read the code, 17.106, it talks about the reason is to recoup materials, et cetera, et cetera. I'm curious, what do we estimate the new cost to an organization when we require deconstruction versus demolition?
If our specialist is here, I could have her come forward. Laura, are you here? If she's not, I will say that I don't know that number. I will say that
Percentages are helpful too in terms of trends. And I would actually offer the same question to the applicant if that party knows.
and maybe they do. I mean, I will say that these materials are being auctioned off, so it might be a wash. And I see somebody from the applicant team coming in to help.
Yeah, we can't quantify that at this time with any certainty, so I wouldn't want to give you a number that would be misleading.
Is it the same cost as demo?
Even, I think, with being subsidized, I think it would probably still be, apologize, a little bit, it would still be more.
Okay.
Okay, we do have Lawrence Zimmerman from the Bureau of Planning and Sustainability.
Did I hear Zimmerman?
Yep. You could,
well, okay.
if you could both introduce yourselves, that would be great.
Hi, I'm Lauren Zimmerman. Like Tanya said, Bureau of Planning and Sustainability, except Zimmerman has two N's at the very end.
Ours did too until a certain island took it away from us.
Yep.
Yes. Thank
Familiar
you.
problem. So I run our deconstruction program, and I was running down the stairs, so I missed the full question, but I believe it was about cost.
I'm looking for and it can be ballpark trending. When we applied deconstruction over demo, what we would expect trend-wise, what that cost difference would be.
Could go on about it for about an hour, but for a house this size, it's very common in what we see in our program. The cost is not necessarily higher for deconstruction versus demolition for a number of reasons, one of them being the demolition rule specifying exterior painted surfaces 1978 and older need to be manually removed. And so that combined with deconstruction, all our deconstruction contractors can do that work too. So in other words, it's about the same to maybe 10 to 20% more than you would see for a demolition cost.
Okay. Do we have an idea for what the deconstruction or demolition of the house would be number-wise?
Not at this time.
Okay. I want to make sure I understand, as I'm looking at Code 17 here, that in paragraph C, that the director may temporarily suspend or modify requirements of this chapter based on determination that such requirements are temporarily infeasible due to economic or technical circumstances. I am interested in this economic aspect. I I think that I am curious what the economic determination was to put in paragraph D in this staff report for a nonprofit. And if there was consideration for, because you've said that it'll be a minimal cost, and he's indicated that will be a higher cost. I think we're not sure yet, but we've said we want to apply this standard that doesn't legally yet apply to it. Is there any more thought around why that came into the staff report?
Yes, I can give you some of that. So in terms of meeting the various goals and policies, that condition of approval helped the project better meet more goals and policies of those different plans. Those included the embodied carbon of those materials. So some of the environmental and resilience goals and policies are better met by having a deconstruction versus a demolition. And then there was also just the conservation of historic materials. So even though we're not meeting preservation goals on balance, and we're prioritizing other goals in how we're evaluating this, at least it gives a little bit towards those goals. So it's about preservation of materials and then also the environmental costs of the embodied carbon of the materials being reused rather than landfilled.
Thank you. I think I do understand both the materials from a toxic standpoint and carbon. I have a tough time expecting that there's a large market for 1908 bungalow housewares out there. Based on the picture that we saw, it doesn't look like it's been well preserved in that sense. So just in turn, I will, sticking to this round of it, I think you've answered all my questions, so thank you.
I have a little more information that could help with your question. So this house, so the residential deconstruction program applies to houses, duplexes, 1940 and older. This house is bread and butter. Deconstruction contractors take houses like this down every single week in accordance with our rule. The materials go to typically one of 4 salvage shops across Portland, including places like Lovett Deconstruction. We have the nonprofit Rebuilding Center, and a house like this produces 10 to 20 tons of debris when it is taken down, but the deconstruction process typically saves 3 to 4 tons of the lumber. So all of these houses were built from our old growth forests. All of that important regional, cultural, environmental asset is in the walls of the houses, and the wood itself is usually old growth Doug fir, very prized for how beautiful it is and how easy it is to remill into other products. So the deconstruction ordinance over time has shown a gain of 30 to 50 local jobs, especially in these salvage lumber retailers and in the deconstruction contractors. So we're kind of seen nationwide in Portland as one of the places where the circular economy for salvage materials from old houses is working. So there is a place to go with the materials, and there's definitely a demand for it. One thing I'd like to offer is we just received an Oregon DEQ grant for materials management to study commercial deconstruction for this reason, because not every commercial building is the same size, materials, whatever we get out of it. So we want to make a set of case studies to kind of understand the materials that come out of them, the economic impacts and all those things. Some of those grant funds could potentially be applied to this case too, depending on the acceptance of that grant and the timing and all those things.
That's a very helpful answer. And I acknowledge and I accept everything you just said. My weight here will go to every dollar spent by a nonprofit on a deconstruction is less of a dollar in a program. And so that's what I'm wrestling with here. Since it is not required by law, we are applying this. So your answer was wonderful. Thank you.
Seeing no other technical questions, I am closing the evidentiary record on this hearing. This means that we will not accept any more oral or written testimony on the land use appeal. That moves us into deliberation. Excuse me, I have something in my throat. So counselors, this is where we can discuss the measure before us, and we will signal our decision on what we would like the ultimate vote to be through a motion for a tentative vote. This allows staff to write the report, the formal report, which we will officially vote on at that future meeting. So there's 2 votes, a tentative vote today, which directs staff on what to write in that report. And then we will have the formal vote, presumably at our meeting on the 5th.
Yeah, and just during that meeting, there'll be no testimony, and it's usually just a roll call vote. So this is more the opportunity for council to deliberate and discuss.
So is there any discussion on the measure before us? Councillor Green.
Thank you, Madam President. I appreciate the work that went into creating an evidentiary record from which to give us an objective place to deliberate, despite the very emotional presentation. I am looking at the balance of considerations that were intersecting with our comprehensive plan, the Southwest Corridor Plan. There was another plan, I forget it in front of me, but the matrix there suggested that this on balance does move us toward an improvement of the public good. There was a specific argument that I found compelling, which was that there is nothing actually particularly unique about the property, and if you took the property away, it wouldn't change the character of the neighborhood because frankly, a lot of it has already changed. And so the legacy of that neighborhood, in my view, is best served by making investments in this sort of kind of public health complex is the way I see it, which is actually a good sort of community-driven, a sort of modern-day legacy of that neighborhood. So I guess what I'm saying to the council is that I'm convinced by the evidence. I think it's a reasonable staff report, and I'm leaning towards yes on this.
Councillor Ryan.
Yeah, same, and I'm actually calling to move the motion and to take the tentative vote.
Second.
And just to clarify, is that motion to grant the demolition with the staff recommendation?
Yes.
Of conditions of, and ask the staff to return? Okay, so it's a tentative, I can just state it for the record.
Thank you.
It's a, council makes a tentative motion to grant the demolition review appeal with the PP&D staff recommended conditions, and ask the staff to return with revised findings.
You're good.
It's written.
I second that.
I think you made the motion.
I make the motion. Yeah, I move, so moved. I second.
Okay. Okay. Is there any discussion on the motion? Okay, clerk, can you call the roll?
Avalos.
I just want to appreciate everybody's heartfelt testimony. I was clearly feeling it, and I'm grateful for what you brought to the table today. I vote aye.
Dunphy.
Aye.
Smith.
I want to thank everybody for testifying today and giving us an idea of what you do. And it's amazing work. Keep it up. And I vote yes.
Canal.
It's a privilege to be a witness to you telling your stories here, and I appreciate how hard it was for everyone who had to share all that. So I just wanted to say thank you for that, and I vote aye.
Ryan.
I've been in a few of these hearings, and nothing comes close to what I just experienced. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your vulnerability, and it's not lost on me that you have the approval from the Historic Landmarks Commission. That was a rare occurrence, and so this is looking good. I definitely support and approve the petition.
Yamaline.
Thank you so much for being here, for sharing about your deepest, hardest, most tender, vulnerable experiences and moments of your lives. And as you're talking about this, what is going to be built, I just couldn't stop help thinking about just how like Portland needs more of of this and what it's rooted in, which is like what I heard, supporting each other, making sure people's needs are met, a place for connection and for getting to lead. I'm proud to vote aye.
Mario?
I want to echo what my colleagues have said. Thank you so much for coming out and testifying today. It is an honor to hear your stories and your family's stories. And I think that, you know, we want to hold on to things of the past sometimes, but the most important thing and the thing that makes our city wonderful and beautiful is the people in it and everything that you do and that you bring. And so I'm honored to support this as well. And I was also particularly heartened that in a country where our healthcare system often does not support people who don't have the funds to access support, that this organization is taking part in that and giving access to people who otherwise would have never had it. So I'm going to start crying if I keep talking too long, but thank you for everything that you did today, and I'm happy to vote aye.
Green?
I believe very strongly in planning for the public purpose, and these land use hearings are important for that, to that end. I also believe very strongly that Portland needs a win. And this to me seems like a slam dunk. So I thank you for providing that evidence. I thank the staff's work, and I'm happy to vote aye.
Zimmerman?
Yeah, I'm also appreciative that this recommendation from the Historic Commission came through. I think that the way we keep the Historic Commission impact for Portland moving forward is that it is flexible and meaningful to the times. And so there's protection of the past and a moving with the times. It's incredibly important. It's on display here. And so I appreciate that. You know, going through crisis alone is always dangerous. Going through crisis together is something that's better. And I think when I look at that bungalow, it doesn't compare in any universe to Connor and a couple of Wesleys that I heard about, Nate and Wolfie, Helsen, Holly, Sarah, and Jasper. And so I'm a strong yes.
Colonel Guinea?
Thank you all for being here, for sharing a little bit about your experiences. And thank you to the folks who thoughtfully planned out the future of this site and gave us a decision that seems quite easy compared to a lot of what we'll hear about, I'm sure, in the future, because the argument for this specific demolition, for that piece of the project, is so clear and is so clearly important for achieving the results of the project as a whole. And thank you to the Landmark Commission for also making this vote much easier than it might otherwise have been. We truly appreciate all of the time you took today. I vote aye.
The vote passes with 10 yeses.
We will return to this matter on February 5th. Do we have a time certain set?
9:45 a.m.
At 9:45 a.m. This was the only item on our agenda. We are adjourned.